welcome everyone to our final session with Mindfulness with Marsha on how to get it all done, and yet still, if you are wanting to start, you're wanting to strengthen, you want to integrate some more mindfulness strategies, all of these things in order to get things done, but yet maintain a mindful lifestyle, or initiate it, begin it, strengthen it, that kind of thing. Because sometimes, and if you're just joining us today, they can kind of seem like polar opposites. Well, how do I take pause? How can I be present with my kids? How can I be more mindful when I have this huge list? So I encourage you to look back on parts 1 through 3 if you're curious. Right now, just to review, we looked at 5 suggested steps. The first thing you have to do is recognize those non-negotiables. What must, and it's really important, not want, but what must get done both at work and at home. After you have literally done the math to figure out how many things you need and how much time, then number 2, you need to recognize, well, how much time do you have left for those wants, those things you want to do? Number 3, you have to ask yourself, how can I best use that time that is left? How do I want to prioritize it? Number 4, then you start picking and choosing and actually blocking it off in your schedule. And I suggested using an actual manual calendar at first, because just kind of remembering it in your head, it's so easy to go back to our habits and forget how to actually block it off and see what you wanted to do when you get home from work, for example. And finally, number 5, we work and we act with everything we do, even our musts, but especially our wants, because we've chosen those as priorities. Now, those were chosen by us. What are our wants? And we need to look at those with appreciation and focus. Now, one rancher did share with me, and I want to share this back with you, this feedback, that he said these 5 steps seem more like scheduling in a calendar than just living life. And I would say to him, and if you're thinking that too, because I was there also, yeah, whether we use a physical calendar, an electronic version, we're one of those who has a fridge with to-do lists, or there's a variety of methods that you can use to schedule your day and ultimately your life. This practice of following the suggested 5 steps above is just another tool of sorts to assist you in determining your time budget. For myself, I've always used a calendar as long as I can remember. In fact, I was kind of a calendar snob. I've always been looking for the perfect size, the perfect shape, the perfect color, the perfect template for whether I wanted to have appointments or whether I wanted to have a monthly view. Let me tell you, I've looked at them all. I looked at them all. But even using a tool like that, I was still packing in too much. I was still, for example, having one meeting start at 2, end at 3, and then the next meeting starting right at 3. And how crazy was that, especially when sometimes I had control. They weren't even must meetings. They were want meetings, and I had control over the start and end times. But I still would just sandwich it all in. And it wasn't until I deliberately used those 5 steps, did a little math, and took a really hard and difficult look. It was difficult for me at how I was prioritizing the limited time I had each day. Remember, time is a resource that's limited. It's not never ending. It's limited. We only have so much. It's not about I never had enough time. No, time is this much. It was that I was prioritizing too much stuff into the limited time I had in my life. And I just started like really having a lot of stress, just trying to get it all done. Now, after using these tools for a while, am I perfect? Heck no. But I'm a lot better this very moment sharing with you than I was a moment ago. And I celebrate that fact. And I think we all need to remember that even little steps towards being better at this is something we need to do for self-care and celebration. So with that in mind, I know that many of you have asked me, when will we ever to kind of do like a formal practice together? And so I'm going to try that now with you as a sort of a reflection piece here, because I know that this getting all the stuff done is sort of a universal cultural thing of wanting to do it all and yet wanting to be mindful and be present. And I think this is a nice way for us to introduce a formal practice. And so if you'd like to increase and create a little bit of formal practice in your life, we're going to pause right now. And I'm going to ask if you feel comfortable to close your eyes. Maybe you're with others and you'd rather just have a soft downward gaze. But I just want you to just take yourself into the present moment of closing your eyes or downward gaze and just listen to my voice. Take a few nice deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. You might like to try to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Let the air flow across your lips. Because perhaps even just talking and listening about getting her all done has caused some stress in the body. And these few mindful breaths can help ease our nervous system. Precious one, you'll still want to cram in a lot more into your limited time than you have. It's just our human nature. Recognize that this need to cram, well, it could stem from a lack of true appreciation for the time we do have, but realize it's enough. Allow yourself right now to acknowledge the time we have is just such a precious gift. And we need to appreciate it just as it is, without needing it to be more, without tacking on that, I just don't have enough time. Let's change that around and appreciate what we have right now. So, the secret, if we can call it that, is to work and act with appreciation and focus in the present. Appreciate the spaces that you do have. They're precious. They're beautiful. Can you just love them just as they are? Be fully with the tasks you need to get done without letting yourself get sidetracked. If it's important enough for you to include it in your limited day, it's important enough to give full attention and devotion to it. Relax. Relax into each space, each task, those that are wants and those that are must-dos. Each act, learning to love it just as it is. And dear one, this is just so important. Not worrying about all that you're not doing, but instead appreciate all that you are doing. All that you're doing, because it creates your being. Here's what I say to myself, yes, sometimes even out loud. What a gift this task, this act, this moment is. I will devote myself to it fully, out of love and out of self-care. As we conclude on that thought of self-care, thank yourself right now for taking this time, this pause, for self-care and love for yourself. Couple nice deep breaths, nice inhale, nice exhale. Maybe you notice that your body is a little more relaxed than we started just a few minutes ago. Another nice inhale. Oh, and finally, just letting go. Letting yourself be right now. And as you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes. I want to thank you if you enjoyed this little mini meditative mindful pause. That's really what formal practice is all about. It isn't about sitting and saying a mantra for 30, 40, 60 minutes. It may for some people, if that's what their practice is. But many practices like this have shown to have just as much, and maybe more in some situations, effectiveness in easing stress, allowing yourself to just be present with the moment as is. So this week, I'm going to ask that for your pause, you come back to this portion, re-listen to it many times during the week, many times during the day if you have the opportunity. It's short, it's quick, especially if you're struggling with how to get it all done and still have mindful presence, mindful pauses, and a more mindful lifestyle. Until next week, be well.